Hi, I'm Larry Nespoli with the New Jersey Council of County Colleges. At New Jersey's community colleges, we believe that our students, as well as all citizens, need to be informed about the important issues facing higher education. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor. Insurance fraud costs New Jersey families $1,300 a year. The New Jersey Chamber of Commerce, the statewide voice of business in New Jersey. ADP, a comprehensive provider of human resources technology and services. The Fidelco Group, Cohn Resnick, accounting, tax, and advisory, where forward thinking creates results. MagnaCare. And by New Jersey Council of County Colleges. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome to Caucus. It is my pleasure. Welcome back to Public Broadcasting, FiOS, and all of other platforms, to Mike Maron, who is the president and CEO of Holy Name Medical Center. Good to see you, Mike.
Good to see you, Steve.
For those who have followed our discussions, we've talked about a whole range of issues, but I want to talk today about Haiti. Several years ago, you and your colleagues went to Haiti. Why? To do what? Because we're going to update.
So we got more involved. We had been involved, our medical staff had been involved for 20 years. After the earthquake in 2010, they were devastated, got us more involved. It was March 2010, my first personal trip to Haiti. And then in 2012, after cholera and a few other sort of economic setbacks, Holy Names Foundation ended up taking over the CRUDEM Foundation, which supports and runs Hôpital Sacré-Cœur in Milot.
And that hospital is the hospital.
It is the hospital. And right now, today as we speak, the only hospital, because all the government-run hospitals are on strike. So it is the only facility. It's a 150-bed facility today servicing 2 million people.
Why'd you do this?
Well, we did it because I realized early on, after you and I had gone to Israel together, you reach a point in life that time is short. And when I saw Dr. Butler and Finley and Gewurtzman,
these are part of your team,
our team, come back visibly shaken, I went down and said, you know what, life's short. We don't have a lot of time left. Those of us who have the means to do something have a responsibility to do something. And so we decided to step in.
Mike makes a reference to a trip we went on to Italy. Italy, that was a different trip.
Would have been nice. But
this was Israel with the Berrie Foundation, Angelica Berrie, part of Making a Difference initiative that we've been partners with for a long time with them, and had a big impact on you, clearly.
Big impact.
We're going to be showing some pictures. Talk about where you and your colleagues are today in the effort to try to make a big difference in Haiti, because while there's been a lot of progress, the challenges are still awesome.
Still awesome. So today we are in the final stages of an OR expansion. We're building 3 new ORs, 4 private rooms, addition onto the hospital. That should be done by July.
What are we looking at right now?
So
are they building up?
That's what they're building. That structure now is much further along. The walls are up, the roof framing is on, and they're putting the sheeting roofing on. HVAC will go in a couple of weeks, painted, and we'll be ready to go.
Mike, describe for folks who don't really understand, and it's our plan to still get down there, or with our production team to actually see it for ourselves, what difference this will make.
It makes a huge difference. So in this area, Milot is in the north of Haiti. It's about 30 miles south of Cap-Haïtien, which is the second largest city. There's 10 million people live in Haiti. 2 million of them are in the north. In the immediate vicinity of Milot, there's about 300,000 people. This is the only medical facility that's there. It is the only economic engine for the entire community. Without the hospital, the ripple effects of other sort of economic proceeds would go away. The whole area would be more devastated than it already is. Haiti is the most impoverished country in the Western Hemisphere. They live in conditions that you couldn't imagine here. People still in dirt floor huts, small, no running water, no electricity. Our facility, we don't get any support. So we have to generate our own electricity. We have to dig our own wells to get water. We have to purify that water. United Water who has also been here. Suez
right.
has been
United
very supportive.
was, and now is Suez.
Right. So they have partnered with us in helping to develop water purification systems that are simple but effective for Haiti. And all those partnerships have made a big difference. So all the things that we take for granted here just don't exist there.
It's interesting. Mike talks about the Suez folks. He actually met one of the executives, our good friend Bob Iaculo, not there anymore, but I remember through a conversation we had here in the studio, you were, I think, in the green room, you had a conversation, and it's just so interesting to me how people connect.
Yeah.
Switching gears, women in Haiti, cervical cancer,
Right.
big problem, pap smears. Talk about it, because I know there's making some progress being made here.
There is. So this was
not enough, but some.
But in terms of Haiti progress, this is light years.
Yeah, put that in perspective.
Okay, so here's a country, 10 million people. There are 4 pathologists in the entire country. 4. 3 of them are in Port-au-Prince. The 4th is with us, and he's a Cuban physician that we just recruited this past year. So when Dr. Santos joined our staff, for the first time, obstetricians, gynecologists are able to do a pap smear, hand the specimen off to a pathologist, and get a reading within days. It used to take 3 to 6 months.
What?
3 to 6 months.
Why?
Because, one, there's no pathologist. You have to ship the specimens out, and then you have to wait for the specimen to come back. Now, think about it. There's no real community. While there are communities, there's no street addresses, there's no house addresses. You got to find that patient. So many of these people who had positive findings couldn't be followed up. You didn't know where they went. You didn't know where they came from. And so this allows us to keep people in the community till we have a diagnosis one way or the other, and then to schedule the appropriate interventions. It's a huge benefit.
You know, to be really clear on this, we've spoken to many of the physicians who are part of your team. To be really clear here, it's not just money, a significant amount of money. Your physicians, your team, go there, do medical work.
Correct.
Treat patients.
Treat patients. Yeah, so the goal, it's twofold. It's to treat patients, to advance medicine, and to educate the Haitian staff, physicians and nurses that are there so they can get better at what they do. Ultimately, we want them to be self-sustaining. We do not want them to be forever in a dependent state. We're trying to get them independent.
Mike, real quick before I let you out here, one of the other initiatives, because your community has a very large Asian population, Korean population.
Correct.
The Asian Dementia Center is?
It's a screening program. So dementia is one of those syndromes. It's prevalent in the Asian community. It goes undiagnosed because they don't know how to deal with it, cultural differences. So we've created a culturally sensitive program for people to be able to come in, get screened and properly evaluated when they think that dementia might potentially be an issue with an aging parent.
It's important.
Very important.
And being culturally aware, sensitive, and engaged.
Very important, because the nuances in how you communicate and how you diagnose are all driven by cultural sensitivities. You have to be tuned into that. Another great lesson from Haiti, too. Yeah. All of these projects have intertwined one way or the other.
No one size fits all.
Exactly.
Mike Maron is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Holy Name Medical Center. Thank you, Mike, not just for being here, but more importantly, for everything you and your team do every day.
Thanks for having me.
Right there. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are pleased to be joined by our friend John Ballantyne, who is the Executive Secretary Treasurer of Northeast Regional Council of Carpenters. Good to see you, John.
Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for having us.
40,000 members.
40,000
What states?
members. In Delaware, Maryland, Philadelphia, region, New Jersey, and New York.
Now, the Council of Carpenters, I want to be really clear here. It's a union.
That's correct, yes.
Representing all these folks. One of the largest trade unions on the East Coast. You told me right before we got in here, you've been a carpenter for how many years?
35 years. I've been a member of the United Brotherhood of Carpenters.
Before we show this video, Sisters in the Brotherhood, which is very powerful, I'm curious about you. Why and when carpenter?
Why did I join?
Yeah.
I joined because I wanted to be part of an organization that had some of the most highly skilled professional craftsmen. At that time of my life, that was my dream, was to be a carpenter. I wanted to be the very best carpenter I could be. And I had recognized after coming out of a trade school that I could go on into their apprenticeship school. And though I had some skills coming out of the trade school, I knew the only way to be able to enhance them and to capitalize on them was to go to the apprenticeship program within the Carpenters Union at the time.
Is that one of the reasons why you're so committed to helping so many women, minorities, and others who historically have not had those opportunities?
Well, certainly that is a concern. That certainly becoming part of the United Brotherhood Carpenters was probably the most significant thing I've done in my life. I owe everything that I've accomplished in my life to the Carpenters Union and being a union member and being able to have those skills as a journeyman carpenter. And I feel it's important to be able to share that with other people and to be able to make sure that they have those same opportunities. And we do a lot of minority outreach and outreach to women within the construction industry or women that would like to come into the construction industry.
And don't know how.
And don't know how, you know, and to make sure that they understand that there is a pathway to not just a job, but to a career path, a long-lasting career path.
In fact, that's actually a perfect segue. The goal you told me before we got in the air is to have 10% of the union have women in it, in the field. And this is a clip from a film that is called Sisters in the Brotherhood. Let's take a look.
Sisters in the Brotherhood is a national organization.
Hi, Margaret. I'm Shireen.
It's a place where women can get support, mentoring.
You're not thinking about your hammer. Just keep looking at it. It's going to go there. I'm telling you, it works.
What does it mean? What's the important thing about being a mentor?
I know that the things I learned the hard way, the women that have come in after me, you can give them a little advice and criticism constructively.
Don't stand there and watch them. Jump in. You know, you're going to level, plumb, square, level, plumb, square. So jump in there. Push them young boys out of the way.
That's great stuff. When you see that, what do you feel?
I'm absolutely proud. I mean, every one of those women in that video are pioneers within our industry.
Pioneers.
Certainly, this is a non-traditional employment opportunities that women normally do not take an opportunity to get involved in. I think a lot of that's because they don't know how to. But the women that have come in are pioneers and recognize that to be able to make sure that other women come in and they understand the values of being a union carpenter and the training and the benefits of that and how important that is. They've set up this mentoring program through the Sisters in a Brotherhood.
But Susan, John, your organization is actually reaching out for very young women. High school?
High school. We've had a couple of tours from, I believe, Hackensack High School have come down to our training program and viewed the training program just so that they have an understanding that that's a pathway that they could seek out.
Seeking them out, bringing them in, historically, not the opportunities there. What kind of opportunities are there? I mean, people think they know what carpentry is or being carpenters. It's changed a lot in the last 10, 15, 20 years, right?
Sure, it's changed a tremendous amount. Our training centers can train you from everything from, being a milk cabinet worker to floor laying to interior systems, metal stud framing, framing of homes, framing of commercial buildings, right on out to pile driving, wharf building, marine construction. Even just recently down in our Philadelphia Training Center, they just did a piece on commercial divers and them being able to weld underwater.
Well, is technology changing carpentry?
Technology is changing carpenters. Certainly you would see many years ago when I was still out in the field, you were still using a hydro level or a water level, and of course maybe a 4-foot or a 2-foot level. Today you see everybody using lasers on the job site to do any type of leveling or testing of perpendiculars.
Lots of opportunities. The apprenticeship program you mentioned, what is it and who would be eligible for it?
Who would be eligible? You'd have to be 18 years old. Certainly you'd have to have a desire to be a carpenter, and at which point in time we would ask them to take a test, a mathematics test. It's usually on an 8th grade to high school level, and you'd have to get a 70 to pass that test.
What's involved in the apprenticeship training so people actually understand what it
The
means?
apprenticeship training it's a 5-year program. It's 1,000 hours over a 5-year period of time, which you will take off time from work to be able to go to the apprenticeship program. But what's the nicest part about it is as you start to progress through the trades, you're working. Really, to become a good carpenter, you need that practical experience.
And they're actually doing it?
So you're actually out in the field, you're getting an opportunity to apply those skills, and at the same time you're able to go to school during this program. The curriculum takes you through, if you from being a pre-apprentice or an apprentice right on through to journeyman staff. It's no cost to the individual that's coming in. One of the greatest things about being part of the Carpenters Union is each one of our collective bargaining agreements, our members have agreed to put a portion or a percentage of their pay back into the industry for industry advancement, training, not only just for their apprentices, but also for journeyman upgrading, where they can get advanced skills, or if there's any change in technology that they would like to know about, that they can actually go back to school.
So the more senior people put in the dollars to help those come into it?
All of the union carpenters working out in the field put a portion of their pay or portion of their overall compensation package towards the training
Before I
program.
let you out of here, how much do you love, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much passion do you have for carpentry?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I could put it pretty easily. I joined this organization for life. I became a carpenter. I decided to become a carpenter coming out of 8th grade. I went to a trade school to become a carpenter, and a highly skilled carpenter. I enhanced those skills by going to a union apprenticeship program. But as I like to tell people, is I'm a carpenter by profession. I may put a jacket and tie on to represent carpenters, but I'm a carpenter by trade and profession. I joined this organization for life.
At the core, you're a carpenter.
I'm a carpenter.
You love representing carpenters.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you being with us, but more importantly, doing the work you're doing to help others who historically have not had those opportunities get those opportunities. Thank you, John.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Stay right there. John Ballantyne, Executive Secretary-Treasurer, Northeast Regional Council of Carpenters. Well done. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are honored to be joined by the $50,000 Russ Berrie winner for making a difference, Chief Vincent Mann, who, by the way, you were the last person introduced when I was standing up there. And I knew, because I had the script, you did not know that you were the final $50,000 winner. You didn't know, did you?
No, absolutely not. Truly an honor and amazing thing. You know, to be honored to be an unsung hero, knowing that, you know, the lives that have been lost in my community and, you know, what we're standing up for to fight for and protecting the water for 4 million people, it is a shock. You know, and it's my hope that this will continue to grow, and I expect that I will be an advocate supporter of the Russell Berrie Foundation, continue being a supporter of Ramapough College as well. So,
we're about to see a video in just a few moments that tells that Vince talks about his own. I just talked to Danny, one of our other winners, but the Chief actually tells the story, a very powerful story. But real quick, Chief, tell us a little bit about your tribe, your people, and why we need to understand them.
I am the Turtle Clan chief of the Ramapough-Lenape Nation. We are the descendants of the Munsee, which was also a clan of the Lenape as a whole. What's important to know is the history of the Ramapough and everything we've been involved with, from, you know, the 900 cannonballs to the steel from the Ringwood mines, right? That was used in every war from the Revolutionary War to World War I. Chain across the Hudson, the steel that holds the dome over the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., came from the mines that are now polluted by all these toxins. And so What people need to understand is that all the myths and stories that they've heard about the Ramapough-Lenape Nation and the Ramapough people are false. You know, we are the ones who are standing up in the middle of the Ramapough Mountains, along with Ramapough Conservancy, Ramapough College, fighting for the protection of millions of New Jerseyans, you know, and to protect the water for them as well.
Let's do this. Let's take a look at the video from Chief Mann that he talks about. It's one thing to hear him talk, but you see the beauty of the land around him that tells a powerful story, and then we'll come back and talk to the chief. Let's take a look.
Even as a state-recognized tribe, there's been no federally recognized tribe that's ever become a condition of the permit on the federal level to be monitors on a pipeline. We won that right. You know, we had the pipeline stopped. My name is Chief Vincent Mann. I am the Turtle Clan chief of the Ramapough-Lenape Nation. What I'm doing right now is I'm actively taking a larger role at the CAG, which is a citizens advisory group, where the EPA is supposed to come in and give us information in a way that we could all understand it. We're making strides to protect the water, protect ourselves. I think that we're the only people who actually live within a Superfund site. You know, you get tired of making that long drive to go to a funeral. I felt compelled, and I have to say that it was because of the Creator, you know, showing me, you know, that I needed to come back home. So I try to involve myself, talking with the students, working on projects together where we hired the students. But when you find yourself in a position that tribal members and outside people from the, you know, the outside community start to look at you and start to see the things that you're doing and the accomplishments you're having, and they come behind you, you know, for me, you know, I've regrettably have let people down in my life, and part of that was coming back home. But I understand now that those people are relying on me to continue to pick up where others have left off because they became too sick. So I don't do it out of selfishness that I would tend to step up and continue going to help you. I do it because it is the right thing to do, because I'm a human. I think it's up to us as humans to pass that on to other humans and other people who have had bad experiences in their life to try to help them to see the good in the world, or that they can make that difference. You know, outside of the fact that I'm a human, I'm Native American. I tend to do things that most people have to think about. You know, if you were on the side of the road with a flat tire, I don't think, you know, I would stop and help you. I will be quite honest with you that the monetary value of it to me, yes, it will mean something, but it doesn't really hold any weight to the fact that I am actually being recognized as who I am, you know, for my efforts that I put forth in trying to make this place a better world, not just for Ramapoughs or the Turtle Clan, but for the larger community.
Chief, let me ask you, after everyone just saw what they did, what's the one thing you want people to take away from that video? What's that message?
That message is really, it's about what I spoke about after finding out that I won. It's about humility.
What do you mean humility? Why humility?
Humility means that, you know, when you take a look at somebody else, you know, you should be looking at them as if you're looking at yourself. That you're looking in that mirror, and you know, not one thing is better than you. You know, not a blade of grass. You know, not a bird. It wasn't a week ago I stopped in the middle of the road and rescued a hawk. You know, and you know, along our journey in life, because of our experiences, some of them are very tragic. You know, we lose what we're born with, which is humility, right? When we can't take care of ourselves, we're relying on other people to do that for us. And through life and through those tragic experiences, you know, or arguments and things like that, we lose that humility. We lose that humanness about us. And we become what I say is people, right? When you go to New York City, it's people walking down the street. And it should be.
Devil's advocate, Chief, but don't you need ego and a degree of I don't know if it's arrogance or assertiveness to fight the fight you're fighting, to go to congressional committees, to get people to move. Is ego? No?
No.
It's not, is it?
No, it's not. And if I could take it out of here, I would show you. It's my heart, right? That's what it is. I used to wear it on my shoulder. You know, as a kid, I was ridiculed and laughed at and, you know, bullied. And so one of the honorees...
You were?
Yes, sir. One of the honorees that was here today, you know, their child committed...
Tyler Clementi's parents.
Yes, sir. That's why I stood up. You know, I know what that is. Our kids continually battle that every single day. You know, the fight of the Ramapough is the fight of every American, you know. And just for us, it's a little added thing on there because we still have to maintain our cultural identity, you know, and to live in two different worlds, you know, 39 miles outside of New York City, you know. So you don't need that. You need to have heart. You need to have understanding. You need to be able to cry, show your emotion, show that you're a human, you know, show that you have that humility in you, right? You know, and through the course of life, people find that humility when their son is trying to set on them. You know, that's when they're sorry for, you know, the argument, not talking to their brother for a long time, or if it's their children or their parents or a friend, you know, and they find that humility again. And sometimes people don't find that out until it's too late. And I'm just honored enough to be recognized for finding my humility again.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor, the New Jersey Chamber of Commerce, ADP, the Fidelco Group, Cone Resnick, MagnaCare, and by New Jersey Council of County Colleges. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
Think this is absurd? Insurance fraud costs every New Jersey family over $1,300 every year. Report fraud at njinsurancefraud.org.